Here we are. It's the Jerry Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. We are at Atlanta Fine Homes, Sothebys International Realty. And today I am so excited to have our very own managing broker, Nancy C. Nancy, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. I'm delighted to be here.
So many of our listeners already know who Nancy is. She has been managing broker with Atlanta Fine Homes since the beginning, and you've been a managing broker for 23 years.
Yes.
And you were a real estate agent for 10 years before that with Buckhead Brokers and with Jenny Pruitt and Associates.
Yes.
So you have got some wonderful wisdom to share with us today. And you have been sharing some wonderful wisdom with me for the past, I don't know if it's been 7 or 8 years. So I want to start. Well, fill the blanks in if there's anything you want to tell us about how did you get in the business and what made you decide to get in the business?
Well, I moved to Atlanta from New York in the early 80s, and I needed a job. I wanted to do something.
And pause. Tell us what you were doing in New York, because this is very interesting.
Yes, this is an important part of my life. I lived in New York for 13 years, and while I was there, I had a fabulous job. I worked for Sothebys, the auction house. It was Park Burnett Galleries, and then it was bought out by Sothebys. And I worked for a man who was in charge of all the decorative arts, so I had a great experience there. But he became the founder and chairman of Sothebys International Realty.
I mean, that's tremendous. Not many people know that about you.
I know. And so in 1976, when this company was founded, I was a staff person at Sothebys International Realty, and I was one of the first people to type on the letterhead.
The Sothebys auction house. The Sothebys
it was the auction house,
okay.
But it was also the realty company then started on the same grounds, in the same building. We were all together on Madison Avenue.
And who knew? Yeah.
In New York. And so I worked for the auction house as well as the real estate company.
That's incredible. And
so
of course you had no idea. Come full circle today.
Yes.
And where we are. So what made you decide? So fast forward from that, and you come to Atlanta, and you decide to be a real estate agent.
Yes.
So what was the path that led you to a real estate career?
I had a very strong administrative background prior to that, and I love people, I love houses. I had lived in Atlanta in the mid-60s for a short period of time, and what I used to do on Saturdays was get in my little car and drive through Buckhead and look at all the houses. Isn't that amazing?
That is.
That those houses, I was so fascinated with those houses, not realizing ever that one day I would be a part of the sales of those houses. But anyway, I got into real estate in 1984 and loved it. And what is interesting, Jerry, is that those years of sales really launched me, made me capable of being a manager. I think you have to have a strong sales background and foundation to understand how to manage people.
Well, and a strong empathy for the real estate agents that you're overseeing. I mean, even today, when we've dealt with issues and other agents, you really understand kind of the shoes that everybody are in. That helps us bring it back together and make the deal go smoothly.
Thank you.
Because as we know, this business is our value is we're dealing with problems, and you get to see all of them every day.
I do.
Which is why I'm excited to have you here, because you kind of, as real estate agents, we all have our day-to-day activities, we all have our experiences with one another, but we don't get the view that you get kind of from 10,000, 20,000 feet up, looking down on us and all of the different things we do and the differences between who's successful and who's not. And that would lead me to ask you, what do you find is the common denominator of successful real estate agents? We're looking at within 2 years in the industry, most meaning 80 to 90% of agents aren't making it through their second year of real estate. What is that common denominator of people who make it, and really that common denominator of people who are the best of the best?
One very important common denominator is you have to be a self-starter. You have to be, self-motivated. No one else is going to make you do it. It is a tough job. You've been doing it for many, many years. It's very competitive. You've got to be a risk taker. You've got to persevere in the face of a lot of disappointments, and have an entrepreneurial spirit. You've got to be able to spend money. You've got to spend money to make money.
Exactly.
Spend money promoting yourself, marketing yourself, and the strongest agents I have found are those that have a strong network, a sphere of influence, and who get themselves out in the public, whether it is socially clubs. A lot of people meet their clients through their children's schools, of course, by being involved in the schools.
Exactly.
And I tell agents to, when you're a volunteer at a school, be a very strong volunteer. Work hard, and then people who see how hard you work will know that you will also work that hard in real estate.
Exactly. Well, and that leads to the thing, about balancing life. Everybody always says, what is the trick? Or it makes me think about balancing. Everybody says, well, what is the trick to balancing? How do you have a family? Real estate agents work a lot. You come into this business, I'm going to back up. You come into this business going, oh, it's a flexible schedule. I can work when I want. We all are in this business and we understand we kind of work all the time.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets in this as, well, we work all the time. We've got to work all the time to be successful. How in the world are we going to balance this? And there's a lot of tips and structures and systems, but really it's back to what you're saying that makes me think of it. I've found the most successful people are the ones who learn to enjoy it, have heart and passion like you said, and then it's really you kind of integrate your life into it.
Right.
Is when the lifestyle that you have is what's going to lead to your business, and understanding how to not show up at the soccer game or at the basketball game or the ballet practice pursuing business,
Right.
but being present so that it's coming to you.
Yes.
And in that, I think anyone listening to this, everyone has their ideas, but we're all looking for more on what are your thoughts and what do you see agents doing or talking about that are in these situations. They're working with agents, or they're going to school. They've got the lifestyle, they've got the connections. As you get into the upper tier market, you don't necessarily want to go around asking people for business at the soccer game. So what are some ideas that you might share with us on what you've seen agents do, whether it's from marketing or how they're positioning themselves or how they handle people to attract that business to them when they're in these circles and what they're doing every day with their life?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to know the market. And I've always said to agents, go out in caravans, see as many houses as you possibly can, know the prices, know the features of the house, know the neighborhoods, because you are going to be at a cocktail party or you're going to be at a school event. And what's the most common thing people want to know? How's the market?
And don't say good.
Yeah, and then say, what are the houses in my neighborhood selling for? And so the more you know about neighborhoods in general and prices, the more valuable you become to these people you're bumping into at parties and at school events. So I say that just, be knowledgeable of the market. Don't be too pushy, but show that you're knowledgeable and that you're competent. Yeah.
Well, I love that. So, I've talk about this all the time, but I was in a mastermind recently and we talked about what is the one thing that you can do to stand out above your competition. And the most basic and simple, but most true was just like you said, just know your market.
Yeah.
Know the ins and outs, know the details of your market. And that becomes more and more valuable the more experience you get and really the higher that sales price gets, because sometimes the information isn't as readily available unless you're in that market and know it and learn it.
Yes.
You see agents come in this business every day, and you see agents go, and then you see agents come and stay. What is the one thing, and I would ask a real estate agent, I would say someone that's in the business today, what is the one thing you wish you knew then that you know now? I might add, you answer either one or both, or what is the answer to that for most of the agents you see coming through the door?
The one thing that they wish
they knew that they know now. You get into this business, or you may give your own example of getting into the business. I didn't know this, and I wish I'd known it when I started out.
I think the importance of marketing yourself. And another thing that I see agents do a lot is they're working so hard on the current transaction, showing this buyer, getting the deal done, and then when that's over, they don't have anything in the pipeline. It is very important to always have a pipeline. It is very important to have a lot of balls in the air, because you're not going to catch them all. And so I would say having an assistant or some administrator who is doing your marketing for you on the side when you're so busy doing the actual transaction, having someone cultivating future business for you by sending out marketing pieces and promoting you and staying in touch with your sphere. That is so important, because one day that deal is going to close and you're going to say, uh-oh, I don't have anything in the pipeline.
Exactly.
And so you've got to always be mindful of having systems in place to keep that business in the pipeline.
Exactly, exactly. That's so huge and so important, because I think that we get in the business and we get so caught up in one thing, and the importance of just really developing that future business. But on that note, it's really simple. I think everybody's always looking for the next trick. Everybody's looking for what it's going to take to make me be the special one in such a competitive industry. And what I keep hearing you talk about, and find true myself in the industry, is it's really competence, and just get your name out there and do it consistently,
Right.
and do it with integrity.
Integrity.
So, which you have
Absolutely right.
always, which is something I really admire about you. We've worked together for, I can't remember if it's 7 or 8 years.
About 8 years, I believe.
But it's in everything we do, and every issue or not issue or opportunity we have, there's never lack of integrity.
Thank you so much. I believe so strongly in that, Jerry, because you have to do what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be respected. Honestly, if you would ask me why I think I have reached the place that I have right now, this wonderful position I have as a senior vice president managing broker of the Buckhead office, is because people respect me, and they know that I'm fair and I'm honest, and I do what I say I'm going to do. And that all boils down to integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is how agents, that's how brokers and agents all have to conduct their lives in order to be successful in this business.
And that makes me think about, in this business, as we become more and more successful agents and we're looking to get to the next level, what's some of the advice you have about that? And I think some of that might come into, we've talked in the past on mentoring and coaching.
Yes.
Elaborate on that for us.
Well, first of all, Jerry, I want to just comment and give praise to you, because I've known you all these years as a real estate agent who did extremely well. I mean, you're one of my top agents in this office and the company.
Well, thank you.
And then, here you are branching out, launching, a whole new segment of your career. In this, with Jerry Metcalf podcast, for example. I didn't even know you were doing this until it taken off, and I thought, I think I better go listen to some of Jerry's podcasts. And I was very impressed.
Well, thank you.
And I learned something. I forgot, it was one person you interviewed, and I listened to it. I really have learned a lot hearing this broker in Idaho respond to your questions.
Right.
And then I've heard several others since then. But what you did is you continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You have continued to grow by being having the podcast, but also being a mentor and a coach by leading these Wednesday morning sessions that you lead at 7:30 in the morning. You've got to get early to do that, and people really want to learn and grow to be in the office at 7:30 in the morning to hear you and to have this group of agents. So that is a way that you have grown, and you've been a mentor and a coach. I'm going off the subject a tiny bit by going over there. But getting back to the mentoring coaching, I think it is so important to mentor others. And I will tell you, in my own life, I've benefited enormously by having a very important mentor in my life, and that is Jenny Pruitt. It's an unusual situation. Jenny and I are best friends, and she's also my boss. And you sort of wonder how
that says a lot about both of you. Exactly.
Well, I have such respect for her. I love her as a friend. We share so many things, but there is definitely a divide. I mean, she is my boss. As Jenny would say, she signs my paycheck. And so, but I'm so grateful to Jenny, because she saw in me what I did not see in myself. I was an agent at Jenny Pruitt and Associates, and I was just an agent. I was doing fine, but had no idea that I had any potential to be a broker. And she was looking for a broker in her Sandy Springs office. And she and I bumped into each other at an event one Saturday morning, a volunteer thing. And she was talking to me, and she looked at me with those piercing blue eyes. And she said, "Do you have your broker's license?" And I said, "Oh, no, I don't have my broker's license." She said, "I want you to get it as soon as you can."
Wow.
And I thought, what? She thinks I will be a good broker? What is going on?
Right.
She told me later that in her spirit, in her heart, she knew by looking at me and knowing my character as an agent that I would be a good broker. So what she had to do was teach me the broker skills. She said, "Nancy, I can take someone with people skills and teach them the technical skills, but I cannot take somebody with technical skills and teach them people skills.
What a wise statement.
Yes, and so you have to have people skills in this industry. You absolutely have to be able to handle people.
Mm-hmm.
And so she chose me in 1993, 94, in that time frame I became a broker with Jenny Pruitt and Associates. And then as a mentor, she has developed me by teaching me, by correcting me, definitely correcting me many times along the way, but serving as a mentor and a coach. And so I feel very strongly that it's incumbent upon me as a broker, and it's incumbent upon you all as agents to be mentors, because you grow by being a mentor. When you teach, you learn.
Exactly.
When you mentor, you're giving away.
Exactly.
It's important to
There's
give
something
back.
about giving forward that brings so much more abundance into our lives. And it reminds me of, we've talked about this, but it reminds me of, in every culture, we need to be in an environment where we thrive and we feed. And the things that we don't expect, like when we give forward, the things that come back into our lives, or when we put ourselves in a situation with one intention, the other things that come back to us. I came to Atlanta Fine Homes from another company, a completely wonderful company, completely different culture. But my business was kind of at a certain level, and it just plateaued.
Yeah.
And I came to Atlanta Fine Homes, and the first thing I thought was, wow, I'm home. I mean, I didn't realize, and I say that to our members, and to our listeners, not to say that you have to be Atlanta Fine Homes, Sothebys International Realty, but that I'm answering the question before I get to it, but your broker is of utmost importance, or that in the things we do, in giving and doing the right thing, it's amazing what comes back without us even necessarily intending it. By being a coach and a mentor, you're not going to get, what is it saying? You're not going to get there doing you're not going to get to the next level doing what you did to get to the first level.
Yeah.
And transitioning into mentoring and coaching does that. Transitioning into Atlanta Fine Homes, I didn't even realize that in doing that, the level of business that I was in at the time, moving to a different environment and moving into doing things a different way, subconsciously, and only by the change of my environment, it changed what I did. It changed the energy.
Yes.
It changed what was in my life, and really took my business to the next level.
It also presented a challenge for you,
right?
Which you were obviously looking for, maybe at a level
exactly.
that you did not know that's what you were seeking.
Exactly.
But I think always challenges make you grow. Look at what you're doing right now. This is a different ball game for you to do these programs and to coach. But you are challenging.
Stretch yourself. Yeah.
Stretch. You've
exactly.
got to stretch. You cannot do the same old thing. It's very boring.
Grow.
You've got to grow.
Always growing, always getting better, always doing better things. So I will ask you, when it comes to brokerages and companies and who you're with as a real estate agent, and even as a broker and the company you're working with, a lot of people say, oh, it's not the broker, you're the agent, they're just hiring the agent, the broker doesn't matter. What would you say to that, or what do you think about that?
I think the broker matters a great deal. I think a broker, first of all, a broker needs to be very much available. And another quality that I have as a broker is I have a great sense of urgency about everything. I mean, if an agent calls me, I'll stop everything and respond to that phone call or that email or that text, because I know that it's very important, very timely matter. Everything you do in real estate has a great sense of urgency and timeliness associated with it. So I think a broker needs to be available, sensitive, caring, and a broker needs to be a very good listener. As an agent needs to be a very good listener. You all need to be listeners, really to understand the needs of your clients. As a broker, I've heard you say this about me, and I appreciate this very much, Jerry, is that I have a way of sort of diffusing the anger.
You absolutely do.
A very angry client, because you and I,
like I've never seen. Yes.
You and I have gone through that
You're
a few times when we've really difficult people on the other end of the phone.
It can be a bomb ready to go off, and the bomb's either going to go off, which is often the easy thing to happen, or it can be diffused, which you are amazing at.
Well, you're very kind, and I think what you do, you listen. Most people just want to be heard. They just want to know that you have heard them. When someone calls and they're really angry, I just very quietly listen. I go, ooh, really? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened that way. And, I'll get to the bottom of it. And I
Exactly.
do, and I mean, there are always
Exactly.
two sides to every story, and so I call the agent
And
involved,
get most sides. Don't just
get
assume.
both
Exactly.
sides, and then by the time you've talked it through, and you tell them that you understand how they feel, and then I always add a little humor to it, get them to laugh about heaven only knows what, but I get them to laugh about something.
You're good at that too.
And
Exactly.
so, and by the time the conversation is ended, we're all kind of laughing. I said we'll get to them, and it always works out.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow the things that seem as if they will never work out, believe me, in all the years I have been a broker, the things that seemed so traumatic at the time really never or as nearly as bad as they seem. And it's all about communication, setting expectations, telling people, this is the way it is. Communication is key. It is so important to level with people
In
and
so
to
many levels
keep
of our
them
business.
informed.
But we should be called
Yes.
communicators instead of real estate
Yes.
agents. Be reminded. I mean, that's really so much of our job that we forget to do, because I find the more I incorporate that into my business, the more successful I become, the more referrals I get, the happier and happier our clients become in just communicating with them.
Right.
So that's huge. So you're talking about all of these because you are so good at diffusing. So you've seen a lot of issues. You've seen a lot of problems, what people might call mistakes, or things just really look bad and look like they're going to go bad. Do you have any good examples for us of those kinds of situations where we often forget that another word for problem is opportunity?
Yes.
In many languages?
Well, I do. I have a situation where I will share about an agent's experience because, in this business, one of the things that is the most hurtful and the most disappointing is when you have a listing and you've worked really, really hard on it, and then they take it away. They withdraw the listing and give it to somebody else. And so in one situation, I have an agent who called me, and she was just literally crying, hysterical. Nancy, I cannot believe this. These are my neighbors. They're our best friends. I've had the listing for 7 weeks. I've done everything I can. I've held it open. I've stayed in touch. I've made phone calls. I've had caravans. It's a broker open houses. And they have just called me to say they're taking the listing away from me and giving it to someone else who they think has, quote, more experience than I do. And she said, would you please talk to the sellers? I'm just devastated. I talked to the sellers and they told me why. And I just told that agent to hold her head up high, to just dry those tears, hold your head up high and move on. And it was very, very hard for her, but she did that, and she handled it professionally. She did not badmouth the client. She said she would try to bring a buyer herself. She didn't gossip about them in the neighborhood or anything. She was a woman of integrity. So this morning I was talking to her, and this has been 2 months ago.
Wow.
I said, that listing, that you lost, has it sold? And she said, no, it still hadn't sold with the new agent. And I said, but you have held your head up high. And she said, Nancy, this is what's very interesting about that, what appeared to be a devastating situation at the time, is because of the way she conducted herself. All the neighbors around there really respect her because she did a really good job for them, but they chose to take it away, and it hadn't really hadn't brought them the buyer yet.
Yeah.
But so because of the way she conducted herself, she will get more business from that neighborhood by holding her head up high, walking away with a sense of composure, and doing the right thing. It will bring more business to her as a result of her handling something in a certain way.
I mean, that's really just a statement of in every problem there's an opportunity.
Yes.
And it's not always, there's not necessarily bad situations, but there's just bad responses to situations.
Right. Well, you see, the thing that we all know is that buying and selling real estate is a highly emotional thing to do. You're dealing with the most valuable asset a person's ever going to have.
And their home.
And their home, where they have their memories, they raise their children, etc. So it is highly emotional, and so we have to deal with the emotions, and therefore we have to remain as unemotional and as calm as possible.
And supportive all at the same time.
And very supportive, and communicative, and knowledgeable, and all those things. So you're playing a huge role in life, and it's all about doing what's right for your client. So taking you out of the picture and doing what's right and best for them.
Well, it's
Yeah.
our most important job is knowing what's best for our client. More important than anything is
Yeah.
representing them in their best interest and educating them to help them understand
Yes.
what what their options really are, and making sure they understand the potential consequences of all of them, and picking the one that really suits them the best.
Yes.
So it's great.
Absolutely.
So I want to run us through 3 questions that I really like to kind of close out with, because it helps us wrap all of this up. Number 1 is, if you were starting all over, and you can answer this in the first person or the third person, meaning for yourself or for just other brokers in general. I like to kind of ask myself, because it makes me really resonate and go, okay, what's really important in being successful in this business, or what are the core things we can do? If you were starting all over and had just, let's say, $200, and you landed in the middle of, whether it's Atlanta or any city, you don't know anyone, you speak the language, you have enough food, and you have shelter, and you have $200 to make yourself a successful real estate agent. I'm talking top real estate agent in the market. What would you do with that $200 to get yourself started and ensure your success?
Well, because I am going to relate it to Atlanta Fine Homes, because I know what we would do if an agent were here,
okay,
and had those circumstances. I would say get involved with the Brian Buffini Peak Producers class. It would throw them in. I mean, they would just go in feet first, and they would have to create their sphere, stay in touch with their sphere, follow up, write notes, have personal visits, take gifts to the person. It's a lot of interaction. You would be able to develop your own style, your own skills, but it would really throw you into the fire as far as things that you are shown how to do in a very regimented weekly fashion. You've got to come back and report. So I think that would give somebody who was just trying to get back in $200 in their pocket. It might cost them a little bit more than that, but it would be a really good way for them to get the training and the hands-on
so invest it in your education,
and training, education, but where you really have to do the work.
Exactly.
And you are being held
accountable. Which is a huge statement to the power of our own network, our own ability, our own, there's so much talk about buying leads in our business and buying systems that are going to just make us successful. The investment's got to be in yourself.
Yes, absolutely. The investment has to be in yourself. But then you have to do all the things they tell you to do.
Action. Take action.
If you don't do them,
you got to deliver.
You only can blame yourself.
Exactly. You got to execute.
Yes.
That would be a Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk's always talking about it's in the execution. Gary Vaynerchuk's one of my favorites, an internet celebrity.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, if there were one book that you would recommend real estate agents read that want to take their business to the next level, what would it be?
A book that I'm currently reading by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, that's one to read over and over
and over
again.
Yes, it is one to read over and over again. And it's my nighttime reading, actually, so I that's what I do to put myself to sleep. But anyway,
it's so good. I read it to put myself to sleep. I think we all know what you mean.
No, but what I do love about it is it's just those simple things. It just reminds you of the simple things you have to do. Be an encourager. Make people feel good about themselves. Tell people, compliment people. When you see something nice about people that you like, tell them. Not everyone has enough self-confidence to tell somebody else that they're attractive or that you really appreciate or admire them for something. You have to have, but those are the things you have to do. One of the things that this book stated, which I found very interesting, is that a large majority of the people you bump into, like a big percentage of people you meet, think that they're superior to you. That's the attitude people have.
Isn't that interesting?
Is that they are superior to you. So I thought, oh, really? Okay. So maybe
I want to reread, because I don't remember that part of the book, but maybe I want to reread it.
95% of the people you meet think that they're superior to you.
Interesting. So what do you do about that?
And so what you do is kind of, yes, you're right. You are in sort of verify, that you acknowledge that fact that they do have these wonderful qualities that you admire, and they're just going to love you because you think they're great, and you're telling them these
And
good
they
things
know they're
about
great.
themselves, and they know they're great.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yes, I didn't either.
95% of people think that they're superior to you.
That's what this book says.
Here's an interesting spin on that. If you think you're superior to someone else, they're just like 95% of the other people. So how superior and special is that? I mean, just to humble ourselves a little bit. That's great.
It makes us feel a little less important.
Right.
But anyway, there are just so many wonderful little pearls of wisdom in that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that if you've read it before, you might want to read it again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's common sense stuff, but it is taking steps to make others feel that they are important, which we all want to feel.
And we forget. Exactly. Everybody wants to be liked.
Everyone
My dad
wants
used to tell me, everybody wants to be liked.
Yeah.
And empathy. I remember when I read that, it's been a while. But I remember it just reminded me of empathy. So what a great read. That's going to have to be my next one.
Yeah, okay.
That's great.
Easy read. Yes.
So if there's one thing that you want everybody listening to this to take from this interview, what would that be?
Well, I will tell you what I think that is. I hadn't really thought about this one, but I will tell you that we all have natural gifts. God has given all of us gifts. And the nicest blessing that I have had, one of the nicest ones, in my position as a broker, I'm able to use my natural God-given gifts, which are caring for people, helping people, communicating, laughing, finding the best in them, and I find that I can use all of those qualities really with great pleasure in my job. So the takeaway would be, find what your gifts are, use them to be the most effective person you can be in this world.
That's beautiful. That's really incredible. It's the secret of success right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nancy. This has been wonderful.
Thanks.